Now, previously I mentioned that one place that we use measurement is in control systems, and I thought it might be useful to have a look at this and understand a little bit better what I'm actually talking about. Basically, a control system, when we're defining it, we're talking about a way or a system where we're trying to have a certain process variable maintained at a desired point. For example, temperature. Easy one, we've got a thermostat, which is our sensor, and that tells us what our temperature is, and we want to set that temperature at a certain point. So we have this control system where we have feedback going on that allows us to turn on our heater or turn on our air conditioner to maintain that at a certain point. Water quality is another one. We might want our water quality at a certain pH, for example. And so our sensor will be some sort of a pH sensor telling us what this is. And then we might dose it with chlorine, for example, to maintain a particular pH. In our vehicles that we drive along, we might have cruise control in that vehicle. Obviously, we've got a speed sensor to work out how quickly the wheels are turning and hence what our speed is. And then we adjust our throttle accordingly to maintain a particular speed. We might have those fancy cars that have a lane departure avoidance and things like that, where it'll do automatic steering for you. Or you might have a camera in your car looking for where those lanes are to keep your wheels within those particular lanes. These days in clothes dryers, they've got a moisture sensor in them to work out how much moisture is in your clothes still, so that when they're dry, it'll turn the dryer off. Otherwise, it'll keep moving around and heating them up and trying to dry them for you. Or in an airplane, for example, you might have a GPS sensor that will allow the autopilot to know where it's going, where it needs to go, and what speed it is traveling at, and all those sort of variables. So here's the basic form of a control system. Now there's subjects related to control systems. We're just looking at this from the sensor point of view and a very low level of detail realistically. But essentially we have an input there. We have a controller that's doing something, making decisions based on our input variable and the feedback it's getting. And we have our process. So for example, it might be in a heating system, the actual heater that's creating warm air and blowing that air throughout an environment. And then we have obviously our output. Now that feedback loop part is where our sensor comes into play, where it's measuring that physical variable, our output, and feeding it back into our controller. And this measurement's really essential for what we call closed loop control, because that tells us, for example, what we need to change, how much we need to change, and it'll allow us to actually do the control. Otherwise, well, we're just taking guesses. Does it need to be hotter? Why not? Does it need to be colder? Why not? That measurement system gives that feedback to our control system to say, okay, we need to speed up our car, or we need to slow down our car by this amount. And so we can have all different types of control systems that allow us to do that. Having said that, most of the measurement systems that we're using in this class will be ones that we use our eyes as the data presentation module, that we actually see what's happening within that measurement system and then do something with that as a person rather than as an integrated control system.